Hey everyone, Jeff Silverman here. I'm the lesser half to the Silverman couple, Alex Silverman being my lovely better half. And I'm actually broadcasting from Alex's lady cave, which is probably getting to be even cooler than my man cave, so it's kind of nice we have corresponding caves. Anyway, here in Kansas, and we're, embarking on this LuLaRoe journey. And she asked me why, the cantankerous person that I am, why am I supporting this? Why is this something that I thought actually was in our best interest as a family? Because a lot of times I am somewhat of a naysayer. I'm the pragmatist. I'm the rational, mind behind everything. And she gave me a list of kind of interview questions to answer to y'all, and for her, for posterity, so she can have it recorded and play in front of me if I ever have any doubts and kind of remember my mindset. So I figured I'll share this interview and we'll see how we go. So the fundamental question she asked me was, why am I supporting this? Why is this something I think is good in our best interest as our family? Having a LuLaRoe business and really trying to empower herself in this new realm. Well, in order to do that, I guess you gotta have a little background on who I am and kind of what our family has been through in the last few years. So Alex and I have been married for about 12 years and been in the military actually for all of those years, some reserve, some active, 10 years active. And one of the things that really started to resonate with me in terms of how our family dynamic occurred is, basically up until we had our firstborn child, Alex and I would, go do our thing, and that's great. I'd go deploy. I would go into training for several weeks, and we both were okay. It's not fun to be a long distance relationship, but you make it work. Well, actually my job in the military is kind of interesting. The fact that I go and I actually do military intelligence, and so my job is to basically find out where the bad guys are, let our soldiers know, protect them if I can, give them the right insights so they don't walk into a trap. And so, that kind of protective instinct was something very incumbent, and something I really, loved about the military is that I was helping people and helping our own soldiers stay safe. Well, now, when we had our firstborn, Emily, I'll just kind of level set it. So we were actually at Fort Irwin, California, which is in the middle of nowhere. If you've ever been there before, it's far from most things. I think an hour and a half from the closest Walmart. So it's quite out there. And we had Emily in an Army hospital, which, limited in some of their capabilities and some of the things they could do. Tough pregnancy. I think Alex was in labor 36 hours. And the baby came out. We thought everything was all right when all of a sudden, a lot of blood, a lot of hemorrhaging, things of that nature, very scary. And they immediately wheeled Alex out of the room and handed me the baby. And so I had Emily, a few hours old, maybe not even an hour old, in my arms, and no Alex, and very limited staff. And what they basically did is grabbed, at the time, Lieutenant, or maybe it was Captain Silverman, into another room. And sadly, the limited rooms and spaces, this room, for whatever reason, was labeled quite literally the isolation room. And limited staff, no one was there to tell me what was going on. And so there I sat for 3 hours with Emily. No Alex, no idea what was going on in the isolation room, not knowing if I was ever going to see my wife again. And that's pretty shocking, and it's pretty eye-opening. And it made me realize right then, and Emily and I kind of had our own little conversation of what the world will be, good or bad, what was going to happen, because I didn't know what was going on. Thankfully, nothing was wrong, and Alex was fine. But that was a fundamental paradigm shift for me, just to all of a sudden say, okay, yeah, protecting soldiers and that kind of concept was important, and that was who I was, but there's now a new goal, and that was making sure that little girl, that family that was going to be protected and cared for, whether it was just me and myself, because I didn't know at the time, or, hopefully, and thankfully, with Alex. But all in all, it made me realize that was the most important thing in my life. And how do you protect somebody? How do you protect that child? So that instinct is really what kicked in, the fatherly instinct at that point. And as you progress, I did transition out of the full active duty military just because of limitations of being with family, and moved to a reserve role, so on the civilian side. You still start seeing that you want to protect your family by being with them at all times, but you can't guard against everything. It really is a very difficult thing to do. First grade, I think Emily, we invited all of her friends at her school to a birthday party, and only 2 came. And it was one of those things where, very heartbreaking to me just to see Emily's face that, why not too many friends were there, and have that kind of discussion and try to figure out where we could help. And this is something that, Daddy wants to protect her from, and you just can't. How do you make them be able to handle something like that? All the overprotective fathers in the world can't prevent somebody from, feeling that kind of hurt, when you're not watching, we're not there, or something that you just can't prevent. And so, in my mind, I already started to think, there's only so much I can do for my kind of protectionism paradigm, that it really came down to how do you prepare your child to, how do you prepare them to protect themselves, to guard for themselves, to be ready in the world and feel empowered. So that was something I warred with, because it's tough being the father and being a male. It's hard to really relate to our little girl, and we have 2 now, or even what Alex does, just because things are different for men. It's just a reality. Things might not be as difficult in terms of feeling empowered, just because of the way the world is. So I kind of liken it to trying to protect my child is. You think you're doing it right, and then something just comes on and kind of throws you for a loop. There was an old myth, I think it was a Greek mythology, of the person that was in the gates of hell trying to roll the boulder up the hill, and the curse was that every time he got to the crest of the hill, the boulder would roll back down. And that similar in that mindset. How do you keep that boulder up there? You just can't if you're the only one rolling the boulder. You need a team effort. And really have to, put that empowerment into your kids, my daughter, to be the one able to do that. So that kind of brings me to how do you empower your child? How do you empower them to see and have confidence in themselves, to protect themselves, to stand up against a bully? And I tried to do limited things that I could do. Like for example, obviously I'm the only man in the immediate family. Everyone else is girls. I'm surrounded by them, and I'm aware of that, and I want to make sure that they see, that there is some roles and lessons they can learn from their dad that can relate to them. Great example is when I got promoted in the Army Reserves. I made sure that I asked for one of the women colonels in my unit to actually promote me. I just thought it was kind of a good way of showing my children that, hey, Daddy's strong and tough and everything, but he still takes orders from that lady over there. Because, to my daughter at the time, didn't even realize that women were in the military. And, how amazing is that they can not only be in charge and be in charge of their dad. And so I think that was something, that minor, but, kind of shows that women can be empowered and she could be empowered. But at the end of the day, that's, rare to be able to have that kind of specific example. And so it really comes down to who's the closest woman to my daughter, both my daughters, and that's my wife. How can we empower Alex and show that she's successful? How can we show that she is accomplishing what she wants to do and being able to kind of knock down walls? And so that's really why something like a big endeavor like starting a business was something that I would probably shy away from myself. But when I saw the effects of how it just brightened my wife's day, being able to say, hey, I can build this, I can do this on my own, it's not on her own really, it should never be on her own because we're all behind her, but she's in the forefront, and that's amazing that she can be the one in charge, really calling the shots and kind of setting the pace for her own business and having an opportunity to really succeed. But not only that, there's that pay it forward aspect as well, where she's gaining the self-confidence, and then the lady she's working with, showing them some really awesome clothing, but that's accessible to people. People didn't think that they could dress in style and such. They wouldn't necessarily have that opportunity. The ladies that Alex works with, they say, oh, I'm just a housewife. I don't ever dress like that. And then Alex is able to kind of share with them, hey, how you can actually feel good about yourself when you look good, and also that sense of community and working with people that also want to have the same types of some gains and goals. So that's kind of where I am in terms of understanding, and supporting this journey, and we're still at the inception of it. So more to follow, but very excited to be a part of the LuLaRoe family with Alex. We're on the same team. She's the captain of the ship, though. I'm just the first mate, doing what I can to support her. But really, the part I think is most exciting is that having my two daughters, Emily and Ellie, being part of that crew as well. Where they get to see mom as the captain, they get to see mom succeeding, and then ultimately, I hope they take it away that this is going to be something that for life, to say, hey, look what mommy did, because that's who their role model is. That's who they emulate, and at the end of the day, that's what I want from them, is to be able to be strong like their mom, to be able to protect themselves, because I always want to be there, but the reality is I can't always be the one protecting them, and we really need to put them in a position to protect themselves and feel empowered. So with that, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to hear kind of my view of the world, and I hope to talk to you guys soon.